Born into the lush landscapes of Virginia, a young boy's destiny was rooted in the fertile American soil. Augustine Washington looks upon his newborn son, unaware this fragile life will one day forge a new nation. Tragedy strikes early. At just 11 years old, George loses his father, forcing him to grow up fast. Deprived of a formal education, the driven youth diligently copies the rules of civility to master himself completely. Under the guiding hand of his older brother Lawrence, George learns the crucial responsibilities of leading a Virginia estate. At 16, he ventures into the rugged wilderness as a surveyor, mapping uncharted territories and hardening his spirit. Thrust into the brutal wilderness, a young Washington battles treacherous, icy currents to survive a perilous diplomatic mission. Stranded on a freezing island, his sheer willpower and remarkable physical endurance keep him alive through the bitter night. Seeking a cure for his ailing brother, George sails the unforgiving ocean on his only journey beyond American shores. In Barbados, he contracts smallpox. Surviving this deadly disease grants him vital immunity for the Revolutionary War ahead. Returning home, he takes command of Mount Vernon, stepping into the demanding role of a Virginia planter. At 21, ambitious and eager for glory, Washington volunteers to confront the expanding French military presence. He journeys deep into the disputed Ohio Territory, tasked with delivering a firm British ultimatum to withdraw. Arriving at the snowbound French fort, his demands are politely but firmly rejected by the entrenched commanders. Tensions explode in the wilderness. A sudden skirmish in the dense forest marks his first taste of combat. The violent ambush leaves French blood on his hands, sparking a devastating international crisis he cannot control. This single isolated clash in the American woods ignites the massive globe-spanning conflict of the 7 Years' War. Trapped at Fort Necessity in a relentless downpour, the young commander faces a crushing, humiliating military defeat. Forced to surrender, he unknowingly signs a poorly translated confession, taking full responsibility for the initial assassination. Returning home in total disgrace, his battered reputation fuels a burning determination to rebuild his tarnished honor. At 23, Washington returns to the field, guiding British troops deep into the treacherous Ohio wilderness once more. Disaster strikes as the army is ambushed. Amidst total chaos, the young officer desperately fights to rally retreating forces. Miraculously surviving the bloody slaughter, Washington emerges with a torn uniform, multiple bullet holes, and a hardened resolve. Reflecting on his survival in the quiet woods, he believes a divine providence shielded him from certain death. Writing home from his tent, he recounts the grim battle, leaving his torn uniform as a symbol of survival. Returning to Virginia, his bravery under fire transforms the disgraced young officer into a celebrated colonial hero. Finding peace at Mount Vernon, Washington marries the wealthy widow Martha, settling into the life of a prosperous planter. But peace is short-lived. Rising British taxes infuriate Washington, igniting a fierce resistance to royal tyranny in America. Standing before his peers, he passionately argues for colonial rights, attempting one final peaceful petition before choosing open rebellion. As redcoats occupy the tense streets, the spark of revolution grows inevitable, setting the stage for an epic struggle. At 43, he attends the Continental Congress in full military uniform, silently signaling his readiness to fight. Appointed commander-in-chief, he arrives to find not a professional army, but a poorly equipped, undisciplined militia force. The early war is a nightmare of bitter cold, crushing defeats, and a desperate struggle for survival. Facing seemingly impossible odds and dwindling morale, the heavy burden of leadership weighs deeply on his soul. On Christmas night, he risks everything, launching a daring, treacherous crossing of the icy Delaware River. Across the freezing river, unsuspecting Hessian mercenaries celebrate the holiday, completely unaware of the impending American strike. The surprise attack at Trenton is a stunning, miraculous victory that instantly breathes new life into the revolution. This desperate, brilliant gamble saves the army, inspiring thousands of new recruits to rally behind the American cause. Yet, the brutal winter at Valley Forge tests their endurance, forging the surviving troops into a hardened, disciplined army. With renewed strength and crucial foreign alliances, Washington prepares to lead his unified forces toward final, absolute victory. Returning to Valley Forge, he witnesses the agonizing toll of war upon his starving, frost-bitten army. Walking among the sick and dying, his deep compassion for the suffering men earns their undying loyalty. Despite the despair, Washington tirelessly plans his next move, refusing to let the flame of liberty die. Through sheer force of will, he holds this fragile, suffering army together during its darkest, coldest hour. The tide finally turns as powerful French allies arrive, bringing vital naval support and seasoned military commanders. At 49, Washington brilliantly orchestrates a massive combined siege at Yorktown to trap the entire British army. The decisive victory at Yorktown breaks the British will to fight, effectively securing American independence forever. In an astonishing act of humility, he surrenders his military power to Congress, shocking the entire world. Hearing this news in London, King George III declares him the greatest man in the world. His duty fulfilled, Washington gladly returns to the peaceful, quiet life of a simple farmer at Mount Vernon. Reading troubling reports of a failing government, the retired general realizes his struggling country needs him once more. Unanimously chosen to preside over the Constitutional Convention, his steady presence unites a deeply divided room of delegates. Reluctantly accepting the highest honor, Washington takes the oath of office as America's very first unanimously elected president. Bearing the immense weight of the presidency, he sets enduring precedents that will guide the Republic for centuries. Stepping down after 2 terms, his timeless farewell address warns against deep political divisions and foreign entanglements. He finally retires to his beloved Mount Vernon, longing to spend his twilight years in peaceful obscurity. Confronting the contradictions of liberty, his final will and testament mandates the freedom of his enslaved people. In the winter of 1799, the father of the nation breathes his last, plunging America into mourning. His towering legacy becomes the literal cornerstone of the American Republic, memorialized in stone for all time. Farmer, soldier, and statesman, George Washington remains the indispensable man who breathed life into a fragile nation,